you can count on us. This is 7 News Good Morning Fort Sill.
Well, good morning. It is Thursday, making it through this work week, and got another great edition of Good Morning Fort Sill.
That's right. Got a number of key military topics, including more on the government shutdown and how it's affecting the military. But first, let's take a look at our weather with Michael. And how are things looking out there this morning, Michael?
Well, a little bit more mild out there. Currently 65 degrees at Fort Sill with mostly clear skies. There are a few areas, especially across the western area of Texoma, that could see some patchy fog, so that is still possible anywhere you go. But for your PT forecast this morning, temperatures generally in the low 60s. There could be a few areas in upper 50s, but generally low 60s. And then by the time we get to around 8 and 9 a.m., we'll be in the mid 60s by then. Looking at what the satellite and radar is looking like, well, not much in the air, maybe a few clouds here and there, but it's mostly clear. There are a few areas of visibility that could be a little bit low, especially towards our northern parts of Texoma. Looking at Duncan right now, it's pretty nice out there. And as we take a look at the almanac, yesterday we had a high of 83 degrees, a little bit above average, and our lows were still above average. Our normal is supposed to be around 54 degrees. We had a low of 59 yesterday, and elsewhere we had a high of 83 in Lawton, 87 in Wichita Falls. You can tell where the warm front came to first. Only we made it up to 75 degrees in Elk City, only 77 in Altus, but we did make it at 83 here in Lawton and Frederick, 88 down in Graham, 86 in Bowie, and 84 in Duncan.
Well, Israelis and Palestinians are expressing their relief after negotiators have reached an agreement on a path to a ceasefire.
However, experts say that the path is long and difficult, or could be a long and difficult one. Amy Kiley reports the first steps could end the suffering of thousands.
This really is the end of the war.
Israel and Hamas say they have agreed to phase 1 of a ceasefire plan.
The next few days, with each side has to do certain things. The Israelis have to pull out. Hamas needs to release the hostages. Israel needs to release prisoners.
Hamas and its allies are holding 48 hostages. The Israeli government believes 20 are alive. President Donald Trump says their release could begin Monday. Many Israelis are expressing gratitude toward the U.S.
What we're witnessing is peace through pressure.
The Hostages and Missing Families Forum says members are excited, but adds, quote, "Our struggle is not over and will not end until the last hostage returns home." Reports out of Gaza say people there clapped and cheered at the news.
It's incredibly quiet from the skies. Come on.
The United Nations says it will supply sustained humanitarian relief to Gazans. Trump says other Mideast countries plan to help with reconstruction.
I think Gazans will have massive relief as the war stops.
Experts say the next phase of the ceasefire plan will be harder to implement.
It speaks about reconstruction in Gaza. It speaks about an international security force. All of those things are very complicated.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
Thanks, Amy. The Senate has rejected a resolution that would have required congressional approval for President Trump's recent military strikes in the Caribbean. The 51-48 vote came after weeks of bipartisan concern about the administration's authority to target alleged drug traffickers without formal authorization.
Democrats pushed for limits on presidential war powers, citing the Constitution bestowing that power to declare war to Congress, not the president. Lawmakers say they were never given clear answers about the legal basis for the strikes or proof that the targets posed an immediate danger.
Well, the Pentagon is clarifying its new restrictions on the press.
That's right. Last month, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's press office outlined new rules that would sharply restrict reporting, including a requirement to have all information classified or unclassified approved by Pentagon officials before being published. However, the latest policy released this week states that reporters do not have to submit their writings to the Pentagon, but reporters that try to solicit non-public information from military personnel could have their credentials pulled.
The Pentagon has given reporters 1 week to review and sign the new policies. The Pentagon Press Association called out those new policies, saying they stifle a free press and further isolate reporters.
Looking at your local military headlines, so Fort Sill has released an update on the status of services on post. Many services remain fully operational. However, some have reduced capacity or are closed due to the shutdown and the furlough of federal employees.
So all gates, the post office, Reynolds Army Health Clinic, AFI's own facilities, the commissary, MWR, and child care centers still remain open. The DEER's office, reassignments, education services, and the transition assistance program are still open, but with limited services.
Now, the Equal Employment Opportunity Office, retirement services, iSportsman, as well as outreach and relocation services are some of the services that are not operational during the shutdown. For a full list, you can visit U.S. Army Fort Sill's Facebook page. Well, a ribbon-cutting ceremony was held at the Vista in Lawton yesterday.
So CGI Federal celebrated the unveiling of its new office, as well as over 40 years of partnership with the Fort Sill community, a collaboration that's vital to the company's future.
Lawton Fort Sill is critical to what we're doing because it represents a highly skilled workforce that is key to supporting the Fort Sill mission. And I think for us, it's important that we make sure we have a presence here, that we grow that presence here, that we have the capability, the staff, and the talent necessary to be successful in supporting our client mission, not just here in Fort Sill, Lawton, but across the country in our defense mission.
Blackman added they currently have 40 employees right now, but anticipate further growth in the upcoming years.
Well, VFW Post 1193 is hosting their monthly Feed the Community event this weekend. It'll be held Saturday from noon until 2 p.m. On the menu this month is gumbo, rice, dessert, and a drink. That sounds pretty tasty, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. Always does. Yeah, they do this monthly, you know. So.
Yep. The meal is free, but no to-go plates will be offered until 2 p.m. And so the ongoing government shutdown has been creating some uncertainty in regards to military pay. Here locally, the Lawton Food Bank is shipping in to help.
The food bank is going to host a special food distribution event for active duty service members and their families. It will take place at the food bank Wednesday, so next Wednesday afternoon from 2 until 4.
Now, if you're interested in volunteering, you can donate your time, money, or even food. To see how, just go to our website, kswo.com. Dodia schools have gotten the green light to continue their sports seasons despite the current government shutdown. Coming up on Good Morning Fort Sill, we'll have news from around the forces.
Every first, every morning, we're here. When the workday is wrapping up and you're ready to start your evening, get your news first. The first look at what's happening in your community.
First responders in Jefferson County worked to extinguish a semi-truck fire.
Your first look at weather approaching Texoma.
We're just going to see dry conditions, mostly sunny skies.
And your first glimpse of impacts for your day ahead.
A new scholarship program is coming to Oklahoma State.
You can even watch on the 7 News app from wherever you are.
Right now I'm here at 2nd and F.
Don't wait to see the news that affects you. Know first with 7 News at 4 p.m. When you want to plan, or predict, or know right now, you want the local app that does everything. The KSWO 7 News app, where the news and weather you need come to you all in one app. Every evening, 7 News, working for you every night at 10. Here's your first alert forecast with meteorologist Michael Amankwa.
And right now we're taking a look at our temperatures. We're seeing a little bit of a gradient as a warm front is slowly moving through the area. Right now we're seeing the lower 60s across the northern county, 60 in Elk City, 62 in Anadarko, but it's 65 here in Lawton and Fort Sill, Frederick, and in Vernon. And then as you go further south, you're in the upper 60s, close to 70s near Bowie, 69 in Bowie, 67 in Jacksboro, and 71 down in Graham. So we're slowly starting to warm up as this warm front continues to push towards the north, and we can see that especially when you look at our 24 temperature hour change, anywhere between 4 to 7 degrees warmer than we saw this time yesterday. Relative humidity values are generally high in the 80 to 90% range. A few areas hitting 100%, so that's why there is the possibility of some patchy fog in a few areas, especially some low-lying areas. Winds are mainly out of the east, anywhere between 0 and 10 miles per hour at this time, and they will slowly switch to the southeast as you go throughout the day. And we do have that front that came through earlier this week, stalled out out here. But then warmer air is starting to make its way on the other side here with this stalled front slowly pushing off towards the north. And right now we can see high pressure here will start to dominate our weather as we go into later on this week. We do also have a tropical storm Priscilla that's down in the eastern Pacific that will give some moisture in the desert southwest. And then as we look at the Atlantic right now, we have Jerry, still a tropical storm. It will continue to strengthen as it head towards portions of the western Atlantic and then make a right-hand turn to the north.
Dodia schools in the Pacific and in Europe got the green light earlier this week to resume high school athletics and extracurricular activities despite the government shutdown.
So that's actually good news because we reported on this earlier, and they looked like they were going to have to pause that basically the rest of the season. So a spokesperson said that high school sports were deemed an accepted activity following or allowing them to continue. Dodia is currently reviewing the schedule of the rest of the fall sports season. Right
now, it's unclear who reversed the decision, but we're certainly glad to see the athletes be able to continue to compete and finish off their season.
For sure. Well, as a result of the ongoing government shutdown, the Army has canceled the 2025 Best Squad competition. Now, the competition, which assesses squads based on their technical and tactical proficiency and ability to work together as a unit, was slated for this month, actually this week at Fort Bragg.
So the Army launched the competition in 2022. At the time, then Sergeant Major of the Army, Michael Grinston, said it measured the service's goal of building a cohesive team that is highly trained, disciplined, and fit. And I know you have some thoughts on this.
Yeah, so Kyle, this is really disappointing. Over the last few months, installations, different units, they've been doing their own best squad competitions to find the best, right, to go compete in this particular competition for the Army's overall best squad. And so, unfortunately, that won't happen this year. So it's unfortunate for sure.
Yeah, you were telling me off camera, though, that Sergeant Major Army retired Michael Grinston actually created this competition back in 22.
He did. Actually, I'd like to point out, too, Sergeant Major of the Army retired Grinston is a field artilleryman. So we do want to point that out. He's actually, he's the current CEO of Army Emergency Relief. And that's in the spotlight right now because AER is one of the organizations that are going to be providing assistance to military service members and their families with those 0% loans in the event that the government isn't turned back on by the 15th of October, which is the next military pay date.
Well, lawmakers have introduced legislation to ensure that the civilian and military workforce and Navy shipyards are paid during the government shutdown.
Now, the Pay Our Public Shipyard Workers Act would guarantee that a lapse in federal funding does not interrupt their paychecks, ensuring stability for those families and continuity for the Navy's critical missions during a government shutdown. Thousands of shipyard workers are furloughed or required to work without pay.
Now, this piece of legislation is just one of several being proposed. Another bill is called the Pay Our Troops Act, which would require payment of all military personnel during the shutdown.
Now, Kyle, this is another thing that we've talked about previously on this show, but during the last government shutdown, it happened December 2018 to January of 2019. Prior to that shutdown, Congress actually passed a separate DoD appropriations bill that allowed military personnel to get paid for the duration of that shutdown, and it left the DoD largely unaffected with the shutdown drama. That is not the case this time around. Hence, there's a number of representatives that have been introducing bills. Unfortunately, none of those have been taken up by Congress yet.
Yeah, that's not great, but maybe on the right side, maybe that'll kind of speed things along to hopefully end this shutdown.
Definitely. Yep. Well, a little more information on something we mentioned yesterday. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth announced the formation of a new barracks task force to improve living conditions for U.S. service members.
So a 2025 tenant satisfaction survey conducted by the Army found that soldiers and their families in Europe were the least satisfied when it comes to government housing. Some of the biggest concerns were overcrowding and outdated facilities that resulted in depressing living conditions.
Plans are in place to improve conditions at installations across the continent, but the process can take years to complete. A sprawling spending bill passed this summer by Congress will deliver an initial jolt to improve barracks, with more than $1 billion being directed towards troop housing.
Well, this day in military history, on October 9th, 1860, Major General Leonard Wood was born in Winchester, New Hampshire.
So in 1885, at the age of 25, Wood was commissioned into the Army as a medical officer. Wood earned the Medal of Honor for his actions under the command of Army Captain Henry Lawton, the man that our city was named after. So this was kind of cool. You actually found this.
That's a cool connection there, right?
Yeah.
So Wood went on to serve as the personal physician for Presidents Grover Cleveland and William McKinley before meeting President Teddy Roosevelt. Now, Wood, along with Roosevelt, organized and commanded the Rough Riders during the Spanish-American War. Wood later served as the Army Chief of Staff and the Governor General of Cuba and the Philippines before he passed away in 1927.
In 1941, the War Department opened Fort Leonard Wood in central Missouri. U.S. forces have confirmed that strikes in Syria have killed a senior al-Qaeda-affiliated attack planner. Coming up after the break, we'll have the latest from national and international military headlines.
Every morning, we're here. When the workday is wrapping up and you're ready to start your evening, get your news first. The first look at what's happening in your community.
First responders in Jefferson County worked to extinguish a semi-truck fire.
Your first look at weather approaching Texoma.
We're just going to see dry conditions, mostly sunny skies.
And your first glimpse of impacts for your day ahead.
A new scholarship program is coming to Oklahoma State.
You can even watch on the 7 News app from wherever you are.
Right now I'm here at 2nd and Up.
Don't wait to see the news that affects you. Know first with 7 News at 4 p.m. When you want to plan or predict or know right now, you want the local app that does everything. The KSWO 7 News app, where the news and weather you need come to you all in one app. Every evening, 7 News, working for you every night at 10.
Well, 2025 marks 250 years of the U.S. Navy. Celebrations, of course, are being held nationwide.
That includes in Alaska, where a Navy veteran is speaking out about what it means to serve in our country. Adrian Peterson brings us the story this morning.
Founded in 1775, the United States Navy has been a crucial part of the military and the ongoing services of the armed forces.
Our mission was basically protecting the sea lanes, keeping them open, keeping them free from pirates and bad guys and all those things.
Serving between 1983 and 2003, Fonger says the strength and longevity of the Navy can be seen in its ships.
The USS Constitution, it was built in 17-something, I don't know the exact year, but it's still afloat today. And it's kind of a testament to the Navy itself, you know. Yeah, it may be 250 years old, but we're strong.
Part of that strength comes from the soldiers that have helped keep the fleet strong as well. Fonger served in multiple roles during his service, but for him, it's the bonds of service on the boats that carry with him.
Every summer I go to Connecticut, seek out my Navy friends, and we hang out, we reminisce.
That camaraderie has been a big part of his service as well as the lessons learned, which he says is a key part of the branch's longevity.
So you reflect, you get better from it, you keep moving forward, but you also keep reflecting. And I think as the Navy moves forward, it's still reflecting back, learning, oh, we should do this, or we can do this better.
As veterans such as Fonger carry that legacy day to day, the celebration of the Navy anniversary will continue nationwide. According to the Navy's official website, those celebrations will also continue for the nation's 250th anniversary, which is next year.
Thanks, Adrian. The U.S. forces have confirmed that strikes in Syria have killed a senior al-Qaeda-affiliated attack planner.
So Mohammed al-Ahmad was a member of Ansar al-Islam. Central Command leaders say they remain committed to disrupting and defeating efforts by terrorists to plan and conduct attacks.
Now, the Pentagon has lowered the number of service members in Syria from about 2,500 to fewer than 1,000 in recent months, with plans to eventually consolidate troop presence from 8 bases to 1.
Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell has signed 2 executive orders aimed at limiting what federal law enforcement agents can do in their borders.
The first order focuses on blocking unauthorized National Guard troops from deploying to Seattle and requiring coordination with local and state leaders if troops are mobilized.
So the second strengthens protections for immigrant and refugee communities, including a proposed ban on ICE agents wearing masks, except in limited situations. Immigrant advocate organizations are applauding the mayor's actions.
Seeing leaders stand up, both elected officials and community leaders standing shoulder to shoulder and saying, while we can't make a promise of protection, we will use every tool in our arsenal to protect people.
California passed a law last month banning law enforcement officers from wearing masks, but Seattle would be the first to do so on a city level.
However, the supremacy clause of the Constitution dictates that federal laws supersede state and local regulations. Well, a major drug bust for the Honolulu-based Coast Guard Cutter Midget. The crew recently seized more than 21,000 pounds of cocaine from 4 vessels off of Mexico and Central America.
The drugs have been estimated with a value of more than $156 million. 19 suspected drug smugglers were taken into custody.
Well, looking at your good news in the military, an Air Force vet from Texas made the trek to our nation's capital to hand over a wooden flag to President Trump for his birthday.
Richard Palmer spent over 200 hours working of work and drove 18 hours to D.C. to give the flag to the president in person. The Stars and Stripes were made using wood native to East Texas, including 2 different types of cedar as well as walnut.
Texas Rep. Nathaniel Moran organized the event, and the flag was handed to White House staffers.
Here's your first alert forecast with meteorologist Michael Amanqua.
And a last look at your PT forecast this morning. Temperatures in the low to mid 60s, and can rule out a few areas of patchy fog. And then we will start rising into the mid to upper 60s by the time we get to around 9 to 10 a.m. this morning. Future track shows that by the time we get into the morning hours, mostly clear to partly cloudy skies, and then as we go throughout the day, becoming more mostly sunny. You still have a few clouds possible, especially in our western counties. Going into the overnight hours, we become more mostly clear, and then as you go into your Friday morning and afternoon hours, generally mostly sunny out there. And then as we head into the weekend, we start really getting the clouds, especially on your Saturday and your Sunday. We become more partly cloudy on your Sunday. We start introducing some rain chances as you get into your Sunday night, into your Monday, and we'll keep it around 10 to 20% as you go into Tuesday and your Wednesday before we start drying out once again. This model keeps us a little bit more on the dry side, but I do think that we'll still continue to have the chance of some precipitation in the forecast. We will be a little bit warmer today with a high of 86 degrees, and notice the winds are out of the east and southeast as we start warming up. A low of 58 degrees tonight, with winds out of the southeast at 0 to 5 miles per hour. Going into tomorrow, a high of 88 degrees. We really start that warming trend as we go above average, and looking at the next 7 days, we really start warming up as we head towards your weekend. And then as you go into the weekend, we also keep the winds around. And then as we go into early next week, we start introducing some small rain chances in the forecast. And here's a quick look at your bonus forecast.
Liking seeing those 70s on there. That's good news, right? Finally. Well, thanks for watching Good Morning Fort Sill. Check that 7 News app for updates and breaking news.